Sonny Poe is asking me, Oliver, did you hear the same that there was no intrinsic value to the internet back in the early 2000s? No, I actually heard it in the 1990s. Not so much in 2000. In the early 2000s, it was supposedly still a fad. Now, let me quickly tell you um, what I saw with Amazon and how I was fought on this. So, guys, I had my first book had recently been published, right? And it was started off slow and became just this runaway international smashing hit. All right. And so I lived in New York City, and I would go to bookstores and actually sign the book as a surprise to anyone who would buy the book. And it was like, oh my God, Oliver signed the book, right? So I would do that. And so on this one given day, I went to Barnes and Noble on the Upper West Side in the 80s. And I looked for my book on the shelf and it wasn't there. I called over one of the workers and I said, my book's not here. I wanted to sign one of the books. And he says, well, that book is sold out. And I said, well, wait a minute. Like, so when are you getting a new shipment? And he's like, I actually don't think that we're going to be buying another shipment right now. And I'm like, what? This is a bestseller. And he's like, no, I know the book would come in and leave almost instantly. We realized that, but we have so many other new books that need shelf space. And this was published a while back. So the newer books coming in need to have the shelf space. And I'm like, what? Like that's how this works? And he's like, well, yeah, this is how it works. Like I said, call over your manager. The manager came over and explained to me, and he said, Mr. Velez, listen, your book is still selling like hotcakes, but we can only really give it a certain period of time to ensure that it's on the shelf to meet the demand. But when we're doing that, so many new books are coming into circulation that need a certain period of time on our limited shelf space as well. So even if it's a good seller, we may have to forego it on the shelf to make room for the backlog of all the new books that have been written since your book was published. And I'm like, I didn't even know it works that way. And he said, yes, it does. And it dawned on me right there, guys, right there. I'm like, OMG. You know when it dawned on me? He says, so I said, but then where can people go to? And he says, well, you can buy it on Amazon. And right there, guys, I'm like, holy, it just laid out in front of me. You see, Amazon digitized shelf space. You see, Barnes and Noble had physical shelf space. Their physical shelf space was limited to a certain number of books, and they had to actually have an inventory manager to make an executive decision. These books are off the shelf. These books are on the shelf. Amazon didn't need that person because digital shelves are infinite. Digital shelves are not limited. Amazon does not have to choose what goes on the shelf. It can put everything on the shelf because the shelf is digital. And I'm like, holy shit. This company's going to take over the freaking world. And I started thinking of all the stores, all the retail outlets that have limited space in their concrete stores. I'm like, Amazon's going to take them out. Amazon's going to take Sears out. Where I used to go buy my appliances and tools. Amazon's going to take this place out. Amazon's going to take that place out. Amazon's going to take freaking everything out. And it all started for me looking for copies of my book in a physical bookstore to sign as a surprise for people that were going to come in and buy it. That's where the Amazon epiphany hit me. And from that day, not only did I sink everything I could get my hands on in Amazon, and let me tell you, by this point, guys, I'd done extraordinarily well in life. Extraordinarily well. I got everything I could get my hands on. I sunk it into Amazon. People thought I was freaking crazy. I refused to talk about anything else. I pounded the table until every single table broke. People got bored with me. People got sick of me. People stopped inviting me to events and social events because the only thing I wouldn't shut my mouth up about Amazon. And this very day, I get Christmas cards from the kids of families. Mr. Velez, I graduated from Harvard because my dad followed your Amazon play. To this very day. To this very day, I have people who are loyal to me, maybe even listening to my talk here today, because of our Amazon play. And I believe it's as certain as night follows the day that 15 years from now, 10 years from now, people will be saying, they're already starting to say it from 2020, Oliver, my life was changed because I followed the Bitcoin play. It's the same movie. It's like watching the same movie where you can repeat the main actor's lines. I've seen it before, people. I've seen it before play out the same freaking way. And that's the value of having someone who's older, has gone through enough cycles to see the repetitive nature of those cycles. And as a kicker, someone who played those cycles extraordinarily well, which I have to say I did.